How did the global economic slowdown affect the health insurance sector?
The good news is globally health insurance is a growth business. Thankfully, including for the reason of countries like India, which is, it's a tremendous growth business for us here. But it's true to say that in some of the mature markets, the UK has been quite difficult in recent years, although actually I'm pleased to say last year our total customer numbers in the UK held. But what's happening, of course, is medical cost inflation is increasing, particularly as populations get older and as medical innovations start to come through, and therefore premiums are increasing at a time when incomes are under pressure. So that sort of mismatch between incomes under pressure and growing costs of healthcare is meaning that some people are just opting out. But generally speaking, even in places like Spain, a very tough economic environment, but we're growing our customer numbers in Spain. So, it's a growth. I think medical insurance is a growth business because the fundamental demands of better quality healthcare with more choice and actually finding a way to have it be more affordable and through pooling risk means that it's a great place. And certainly here in India, the Max Bupa business has been delivering phenomenal growth.
How do you see India market? What is the opportunity that it offers?
Health insurance and medical insurance here in India is a relatively small and recent category development. Max Bupa has been going for 4 years now, 2010. And the market as a whole is still, I think the numbers are, less than 5% of the total Indian population have got private medical insurance. Most medical costs, as you would know better than I, are funded out of people's own pockets. And actually, over time, that's not necessarily the best way. It's much better for people to pool risk. And I think, therefore, one of the things that we need to do, and as one of the leading insurers, and in market share terms, we're up there now in the top 10. We're at about 7th, I think, now in India. After 4 years, which is pretty good going, part of what we need to do is explain to people the benefits to them for their health and their care to take on health insurance. I think we can be somewhat aided by that if the government were to adopt some policies that actually are in the best interests of everyone. So if you had a government policy to incentivize people to take on health insurance, or other means of structurally encouraging health insurance and making different types of health insurance products more readily available through the approval system, I think those are ways in which other governments in other parts of the world have managed to create a very healthy mixed economy of government funded, private funded and NGO funded or charity funded healthcare. Australia is probably a good example. It's our largest market, and there the government have a combination of incentives, rebates if you take out health insurance, but also penalties through the tax rate if you don't take out health insurance, because that means you're going to fall into the publicly funded system. Obviously the situation is not quite the same here in India, but I think there are policies that can be introduced that will encourage people to take health insurance for the benefit of their health and ultimately, of course, for the benefit of the economy as a whole. So I think it can be a win-win-win. But here in India, tons of growth potential, and I think actually the key thing is being trusted, because health is an emotional issue, it's an emotional category, and therefore having someone that you trust and respect providing your health advice as well as your health insurance is really key. And that's one of the things I'm most proud about of what the Max Bupa team have done here. Being the most trusted healthcare brand in India, healthcare insurance brand, I should say, in India is a big deal. And I think that's what's helping this business fuel growth.
Standalone health insurance companies have a minor share, very marginal share in the overall health insurance market. So when are we really going to see the shift happening?
The private health insurers are growing in market share, and certainly we are growing in market share. And I think this trust thing is an important thing. When you buy insurance from someone, you want to know that actually if you do have an incident that is covered by your insurance, that you're going to get paid, and you're going to get paid promptly, and it's not going to be a major hassle. And I think the fact that here in Max Bupa, we actually handle all of our own claims in-house. We don't use a third-party administrator. We have it all in-house. That means we can move more quickly, have better turnaround times, and give our customers more confidence that the things they are covered for, they will be paid for. That's a big, I think that's what's going to happen, more and more growth in the private insurance sector. And certainly we're planning on that, and our partners Max and Bupa together, the shareholders, the owners of Max Bupa, think we bring complementary capabilities to bear here. That's why I think it's working.
Health insurers have a say in the hospital, the prices which the hospital charge, the cost of healthcare treatment. So do you think that can healthcare insurers influence the cost of treatment in hospitals?
Interesting, because I think, look, if you take the UK, the National Health Service, which is a remarkable institution, it's phenomenal, right? And you look at the total healthcare cost as a percentage of the UK GDP, UK is one of the most efficient in the world for the quality of healthcare and the amount of healthcare spend. But what I would say is, even there, the mixed economy of state and private is what's working, because what you're getting is people who can afford to take out health insurance and who want choice about when they'll be treated, where they'll be treated, by whom they'll be treated, are willing to pay for it. What that does, it takes strain away from the public health system, because they're being treated in private hospitals, private clinics, and so on. I think in India, I don't know whether the total cost of healthcare is increasing because of the entrance of private medical insurance. Actually, I suspect in aggregate it will lower, because whereas individuals are currently paying out of pocket for the healthcare, if they pay to an insurance company, that insurance company has got some leverage to be able to negotiate better provider deals than an individual can negotiate, and ensure that the quality of healthcare, and this is a big thing for me, the benefit of having organised private insurance and private healthcare funding as opposed to just people paying individually out of pocket, is the quality assurance behind the provider network that someone like Max Bupa, with our partner in Max, who are clearly operating in the health space, that's a big plus for people. They can trust that the treatment they're going to get is good quality from qualified clinicians in appropriate settings. And of course, because of the buying power of a whole bunch of private medical insurers, they're going to get a better deal than they would just paying out of their own pocket. So I think it's, honestly, I do think it's a win-win.
As Stuart said, everywhere in the world, including in India, the cost for care, the quality of care will both be better with medical insurance. And a classic example where the government and millions of people below the poverty line are benefiting from this phenomena is in the RSBY scheme.
Right.
If you look at the RSBY scheme, the government started that scheme saying that the approximate cost in the first few schemes which were launched were around 700 rupees per family per year. That's when the scheme was launched. Today, most of the bids that are being won, because of the intense competition, efficiency, fraud control, clinical standards control, codification of procedures, and all the things that Stuart alluded to, 350 rupees is the price. If you get as an insurance company, it's a good price, because a combination of the private sector provider, private medical health insurance, including the public sector, who work exactly like a private medical insurance company in terms of their operating style, and government funding, technology, has dropped the cost by more than 50%. So it's particularly in the areas of socially important areas like below poverty line kind of treatment, there has been dramatic change in the cost for the government, because they've used a private-public partnership rather than doing a more traditional approach, which hasn't worked anywhere in the world, of playing the role of a provider. and building district hospitals, village hospitals, etc. directly, which have been cost inefficient, clinically poor delivery, and all the problems associated, as you well know, with the government healthcare system. So, private medical insurance plays a critical role.
And it's not just here in India, in Spain. We operate in Spain for the government of Valencia, the health ministry in Valencia, the total health system for a community of 200,000 people. They pay us a fixed capitated payment per man, woman and child per year, and for that we operate the total health system, primary care, acute hospitals, long-term rehabilitation care. The government of Valencia saved 25% when they contracted us for that 15-year contract, saved 25% immediately. We didn't make any money in the first 2 years, but we're now making money because we've been able to make the system far more efficient. And what's happened is that the quality of health outcomes is starting to increase, and we're now tracking it 3 and a bit years in. And also, satisfaction of people in the community is also higher. And again, part of the scorecard that we operate to with the government of the Ministry of Health in Valencia is a scorecard including resident patient satisfaction. And we're now doing the same thing in Madrid for a public-private partnership for a community through operating an acute hospital, not the total healthcare system in Torrejon, but acute hospital in Torrejon in Madrid. So I agree with Manasije that this public-private partnering, bringing the best of both, is a phenomenal way to deliver better quality health outcomes at lower cost.
What do you think has been your achievement, considering that Max Bupa is only 4-year-old?
When you're starting up in a relatively new marketplace and you're starting up a new company from scratch, we all expect to be investing and not making a profit for a number of years. This is a long-term game. This isn't about quick overnight profits. It's really not. But I think in the next 2-3 years, we should be looking, so I don't know, 2016, 2017, we should be looking for Max Bupa to be able to cover the cost and capital needs that it has, as opposed to relying on Max and Bupa bringing capital. Very happy to do that now. It was all part of the business plan when we started. We're continuing to do it because we believe there's a long-term prize here, and certainly we have a long-term commitment to this marketplace. But I hope it's in the next 2 or 3 years. And
are there any India-specific products that you have introduced?
Well, actually, and Manasije is probably even better placed to talk, not even, he's definitely better placed, but I think one of the great things about Bupa is we very much focus on understanding what the customer needs are. And that, we have in Heartbeat Family product here in Max Bupa, still the only product that covers 5 generations and up to 13 relationships inside a family. That's a phenomenal understanding of how families want to pool together to provide health care, confidence and assurance for their whole family, their extended family unit. That's a marketplace and consumer-driven insight that generated that product. So I think that's very unique, and I think it's phenomenal. Actually,
the family design is incredible. It's called Heartbeat Family First, and in fact we've exported that product to a couple of Bupa countries who come and looked at the design, because that product was originally designed with the Indian joint family in mind, and still, on a per lakh basis has probably the best value that's available in the market is through our family design. It's one of our most popular products, and we encourage people to have reasonable insurance. We don't like selling insurance policies which are really low ticket size, because we know the cost of healthcare is going up. So in the family first design, 5 lakhs individual cover and a 15 lakh family floater is our most popular combination. And that's the kind of coverage that we recommend for a family living in urban India, given the costs of treatment and the availability of very high-tech, high-technology hospitals, high-quality doctors, which do actually cost a lot of money.
But they're an awful lot less costly than the equivalent in other parts of the world.
Oh, of course.
I think one of the remarkable things about the Indian healthcare system, and the private healthcare system in particular, the quality of clinical care and facilities and expertise that's available here, and the efficiency of it. Some of the very focused, procedure-centered hospital facilities and clinics, it's world leading. It really is. In fact, some of our businesses, like in Saudi Arabia, actually we offer the opportunity to be treated here in India, not because it's cheaper, but because the quality, yes, and the cost, but the quality guarantee is phenomenal. So I think actually it's another great example of where private in healthcare can mean quality and affordability.
I think the other interesting thing about Max Bupa, and something we're quite proud of for a 4-year-old company, is that a number of innovations that we brought to the market for the first time in India have now been adopted by the regulator. In the October health insurance guidelines that we issued, two things. One was no claim loading. We were the first people in the market and the only people in the market not to load individual customers based on their own individual health, because our belief is that customers must use our product to improve their health. We don't have a no claims bonus. We give you a loyalty bonus, but we never believe in a no claims bonus because we've never distinguished between a customer who's made a claim and a customer who hasn't. Because our principle is that you buy our product so that you can maintain the best quality of health that you can enjoy. So no claim loading. And the second was any guaranteed renewability for life. So these were innovations that Max Bupa introduced to the market. And I'm quite proud to say that the insurance regulator has now made it a law and mandatory requirement, and therefore to that extent we've already in 4 brief years started to shape the market. And one feels very proud that we are able to do that.
Yep.
Apart from FDI, what are the other changes which you are looking at that can facilitate the growth of the industry?
I've been associated with businesses and joint ventures in India for a long time. And FDI, will happen whenever it happens. I've stopped trying to forecast when it happens, frankly. So it's not something I spend a lot of time and energy on. But I do think, as I said earlier, that there are perhaps ways that the government could incentivize individuals, either through income tax rebates or tax reduction, to take out health insurance. I think that's a good policy introduction that really can benefit the health of the nation, as well as grow a sector that means that actually the quality and usage of quality healthcare will increase over time, and that has a consequential benefit. Beyond that, I wouldn't presume to say, frankly, but I do think incentivizing people to take out private health insurance or health insurance, is a good thing to do.
Bupa globally has presence in several verticals, healthcare verticals. So are you planning to bring in more verticals or expand your presence beyond health insurance in India?
Well, right now, one of the reasons we chose our partner in Max Group is because of their exposure into the healthcare provision market. So they bring an expertise and mindset to this, which is very similar in terms of healthcare mindset that we bring. And so there's a great deal of oneness and synergy between Max and Bupa. So in terms of Bupa in India, right now we're very focused on Max Bupa being the best it can be and the most successful it can be. And in the medium to longer term, who knows? We're always on the lookout for opportunities, but right now we're very focused on supporting Max Bupa be really successful.
What are the regulatory or legal changes that you would be looking at to facilitate the growth of health insurance sector in the country?
I think the principal responsibility of a regulator has to be in consumer protection.
Yeah.
And the insurance regulator has done a wonderful job in actually holding the insurance companies accountable, both in terms of product design, delivery, as well as executing on the claim, whether it's life insurance or health insurance or general insurance. And in fact, one of the things I was really impressed with was our regulator is actually now training, is recognized as a center of excellence in handling customer complaints worldwide amongst the regulators. The regulators have their own club, and they are sharing best practice. And the Indian IRDA people are actually training some of the leading regulators in the world on how to manage customer complaints, how to create an environment of customer complaints, including regulators in some states in the US. So I think we have a good regulator. Rules are evolving and obviously changing. And it's a young industry, as you said. So sometimes the rules changes, have to be thought through, have to be given time to mature, and that's a normal process. But I think they're doing a great job in consumer protection, which is their main responsibility.
And frankly, it's in the long-term interest of the industry, because once trust in an industry starts to erode, actually affects everybody. And I think the fact that, you know, Bupa, Max Bupa here has the most trusted health insurance provider, that says a lot. But actually, if the sector as a whole gets a bad reputation, Max Bupa won't be insulated from that. So actually, thematically, globally, Bupa believes in engaging in a very positive, collaborative way with regulators, respecting the role that they have, the legitimate and valuable role that they have, but working with them in a very transparent, open and constructive way to bring about better regulation and therefore better industry performance, which ultimately is in the interest of consumers, and that's in the interest of the market. So the them and us syndrome is definitely not one we would subscribe to.
What has been the experience of Max Bupa and private standalone health insurers in general in public-private partnerships?
Distribution is a very important function, but quality of distribution, choosing the partners with whom you collaborate to distribute, is also very important, because your brand reputation and their brand reputation end up being very connected. So again, having trustworthy partners. So we do that in a number of countries, work with bank assurance for distribution. And in the case of India, you know, it's fantastic that we have, you know, 4 bank assurance deals, 3 of which are live already, with really great quality banks. But Manasije, you can...
Yeah, we certainly see bank assurance as a great way of distributing our product, because penetration, health insurance penetration in India is still very low. And one of the big challenges that all insurance companies face is that the cost of distribution and reaching that last mile in a country the size and complexity of India is hard. And tying up with great partners who got distribution, good sales practices, loyal customer bases is just an amazing way in which we can grow our business. So we're delighted we got 4 partnerships, and we do think that over time, of course, you know, we're just starting, but over 3 or 4 years, they will start contributing a significant proportion of our total sales.
Health insurers have a say in the hospital, the prices which, you know, the hospital charge, the cost of healthcare treatment. So do you think that influence the cost of healthcare in hospitals?
So naturally, as a payer of the bill and the payer of the healthcare, on behalf of our customers, we would like to see costs come down, and we do work with hospitals to work on standard costs, on procedures. We would like to see a lot more codification. We would like to see a lot more package deals. We would like to see a lot more clinical outcome-based pricing and clinical outcome-based discussions with our providers. I think the industry is not yet that mature.
Globally, this whole dynamic of fee for outcome versus fee for service is something which is starting to shift. The challenge with fee for service is it can sometimes encourage more interventions than are absolutely clinically required to deliver a great clinical outcome. Whereas the fee for outcome model really is about rewarding and incentivizing financially the achievement of great quality health outcomes as judged by the patient. So patient-reported outcomes measures. And that's something which we Bupa absolutely believe in. Because, look, I'm relatively new to the healthcare and healthcare funding business, 2 years. One thing that has surprised me as I've got in and started to really understand it is actually the best quality healthcare outcomes typically in most clinical areas actually to deliver best quality healthcare outcomes requires less numbers of interventions and lower cost. The more interventions you have, whether it's diagnostic tests, procedures, there's more risk involved and therefore likely to not result in the best quality healthcare outcome. So actually low cost doesn't equal low quality. And sometimes that's a bit counterintuitive. You think the more you spend on a particular procedure or treatment, the better quality it's going to be. Well, not necessarily. If you're having more blood tests than you need, if you're having more MRIs than you need, if you have more X-rays than you really need. So I think it's fascinating. But we're very committed to quality outcomes globally with Bupa and encouraging people more towards fee for outcome and, as Manasije says, having very transparent fee rates, fee scales, so that when an individual is going in for a procedure, they know exactly what it's going to cost them before they go in there. And there's an element of risk around the variation that's been taken by the provider, the hospital or the clinician, whatever. And clearly if there are severe complications, then that's additional work, and if it's coded appropriately, and that's the beauty of coding, in systems all around the world, coding makes a big difference, standard coding. So yeah, we have a very similar global perspective on that.